The summit is cracked in half and it's about to crash down into the valley, and hikers are having a blast. This famous mountain in the area that locals call the Matterhorn, their Matterhorn. Matterhorn is the tallest mountain in Switzerland, but the locals think their mountain is equally as important, as beautiful. They might lose their summit, they might lose their mountaintop. It's cracked in half, but the hikers are still hiking up there and looking right into this massive deep crack that keeps widening and has widened significantly. Kind of crazy. What is going on with that mountain, guys? And there's a difference to Blatten. This is not permafrost melting. There is no permafrost on this mountain. It's not high enough, although it is a giant. It's very tall, but not permafrost. Let's look into this because this is a massive amount of rock and the pictures are spectacular. Alarm in Germany, guys, you won't believe this. The next mountain is about to collapse in the valley, and this is not a small one. This is not a teeny tiny landslide. This is a giant. This is really a tall mountain, and it's called Hochvogel. It's on the verge of collapse. Scientists are very, very worried. A giant crack runs through the Hochvogel mountain in the Allgäu, in the Alps. Researchers fear that this 8,500 feet tall, 2,600 meter peak could soon collapse into the valley below. It's a famous mountain in the Allgäu, that's the region. But it's on the verge of collapse, and that is ultra scary, especially since we've seen the pictures from Switzerland, how the village of Blatten was buried by this monstrosity of a glacier collapse / landslide, a chain reaction that was triggered by the collapse of the peak of the Kleiner Nesthorn mountain, similar to here. You saw the crack in the peak, and then it came down on the glacier, was too heavy for the glacier, and then came down looking like a volcanic phreatic eruption. A wall of dust and debris buried everything underneath. So researchers warn that this tall giant is increasingly splitting. A rock fissure already 40 meters long, 140 feet, 3 meters wide, 10 feet, and 8 meters deep, 26 feet, runs through the summit of the mountain. Does that sound familiar? I just can't believe this. And it's growing. The crack is growing, guys. And like in Blatten, summer is almost there. Ice is melting, it's raining, water, all that is like a lubricant for this monstrosity of rock and debris that could come down into the valley. The drone footage and photos that they have clearly show that the Hochvogel, one of the most imposing peaks in that region in the Allgäu Alps, is literally on the verge of its own collapse. The crack runs dozens of meters down from the summit cross at the peak of the summit. So what's particularly worrying is that the gap has widened by such an amount, 30 centimeters in the last 5 years. How long will that hold together? Is it still holding together if this is such a wide, visible crack? Looks worse than in Blatten. So the massive landslide seems inevitable. Approximately, and listen to this, 260,000 cubic meters of rock could tumble into the Austrian Hornbach Valley, because this is at the border of Austria and Germany. And that could happen in the very near future. Remember when we were following Blatten and they were thinking, oh, it has cracked, it's about to come down. It didn't take long, just a few days. So Hornbach Valley in Austria, it's an area like the neighboring Hintersteiner Valley on the German side. Thankfully, it's not like thousands of people there. It's sparsely populated. Blatten only had 300 inhabitants, but nevertheless, there's hikers, alpine pastures, and mountain huts within easy reach of that mountain. They have installed a highly sensitive measuring system. It has been in operation at the summit for years, because this is something that hasn't developed overnight. It's just reaching its critical level right now. It has reached this critical level. So a professor of the Technical University in Munich and his team, they have completely wired the mountain as a part of the AlpSense bench project. The sensors detect the smallest movements down to the hundredth of a millimeter, really, really small. And then thankfully, that measuring system enables short-term warnings. They didn't have that on the Blatten Glacier in Blatten. It's not accessible. It was way too dangerous to have someone up there and install these sensors on the glacier. So the scientists there say, when they install these sensors, it's like predicting the weather. They say we can make accurate predictions 2 to 3 days in advance. They knew in Blatten that it would come down, but did they know the extent, how wide it would spread in the valley? It has exceeded their evacuation zone by almost or more than 1,000 feet, 300 meters. Of course, they say we can see when the splitting at the southern summit is accelerating. What we can't say is exactly when the rupture will happen, that it's happening next week or in the month of July or August. So should it come to the worst, they think that they can issue a warning. They say if we see an acceleration of the process 2 to 3 days before half the summit collapses from 1 centimeter per day to 1 centimeter per hour, we could trigger an alarm. Remember, Blatten, this thing came down within 40 seconds. Sometimes just 1 more millimeter, 1 more inch, and it comes down. They can see that it widens, but they don't know the exact point. Now it's enough. Now it's coming. If they trigger an alarm, they're passing this on immediately to the Mountain Rescue Service, the Alpine Club, and the municipalities in Tyrol, in Austria, and also in Bavaria. Right now, they assume that this massive summit could collapse in 6 to 7 stages. Well, they were hoping for something like that in Blatten as well, because that would not be that bad in Blatten. But here, if these approximately 260,000 cubic meters of rock collapse, they will fall into 2 torrents in an already closed area. That is good. And in the following years then, they could form large mudslides, which in the worst case scenario would reach the Hinterhornbach Valley on the Tyrolean side in Austria, but they think not the populated area. The remaining peak will then collapse in several phases, they think. So they think the Hochvogel will probably not rest in the next 10 to 20 years. That's encouraging. So the saying rock solid is probably a term from bygone times. More and more valleys and mountains have the same problem. Rocks that were previously held together are beginning to break away with sometimes dramatic consequences, as we have just experienced. Already in 2018, 500 cubic meters of rock fell from the south face of the Hochvogel into the valley. So the mountain was giving them a pre-warning. If it then rains heavily for 2 to 3 days, that makes it increasingly difficult. So the main crack in the Hochvogel moves 5 to 6 meters faster than normal right now. 5 to 6 meters, that's 15 to 18 feet. Then there's lightning strike. Would you consider lightning strike a problem? That could bring a mountain down? But their instruments clearly show that that has an influence on the mountain. They have compared historical data and they have concluded, quote, "This also shows us, compared to other records, that these heavy rainfall events have doubled in the last 100 years, and this also increases the risk of the Hochvogel collapsing." So this mountain, Germany to the north, Austria to the south, and a huge rift between them. That's what we can say. That is the situation on the Hochvogel in the Allgäu Alps. So there's some critics are saying, well, the entire summit of the Hochvogel is covered in measuring instruments. Why isn't there a more accurate forecast? And the rain that we just mentioned, that's the problem, because the whole mountain and the summit is very sensitive to this rain. And if it rains heavily, as we said, for 2 to 3 days, that's when that main crack moves significantly 5 to 6 times faster. So the worst case scenario of this, a landslide would reach the Hinterhornbach Valley on the Austrian side, hopefully not the populated area. Scary stuff, guys. Mountain after mountain. I will keep you updated about this one because they're quite worried about this one right now. So we could see a collapse pretty soon. And then hopefully it will not cause what the Kleiner Nesthorn has caused in Blatten. But you can't rule it out because it's a massive high summit with a lot of rocks. There's no glacier involved, but we have seen this in Switzerland, even without a glacier. When these mountains come down, they're not hills, they're tall mountains, they're giants. Everything in its path is just gone. It's just wiped out. So I hope you like this, guys. If you want to know what happened in Blatten, I have a playlist. You should start with video 1 that shows you, like here, how the summit cracked. Really, they had it on camera when it cracked and was already moving downwards. And then what happened then? It was mind-breaking how it was landing and coming down on the glacier. Then the glacier was moving faster. And then within seconds, speechless how that looked. So watch video after video. Then you know how this happened, because yeah, we could see something like this here without the glacier. So thanks for watching, guys. If you want to support the channel, check the links in the description. You can buy me a coffee on my coffee site. The link is in the description. If you send me a message, I will answer with a 30-second video message. You can video me back and we can see each other. That's what I like about this site. Or become a supporting monthly member for behind-the-scene videos and private stuff. Or thank you for everyone who's doing this, the supers here at YouTube. So thanks for all of your support, for your heartfelt comments, for your great comments, for just watching my videos. I hope you're all doing great, and update very soon. So for now, check out the videos in the end screen, guys. Thank you.